Welcome to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough, the Parenting Through Challenges podcast. I am your host, Angie Grandt, generational healing specialist. And today I want to talk about frequency. So, in last week's episode, we were digging into creating a vision. We were talking about ways to start to break the cycle that's in our brain that decides how we're showing up for ourselves. It's a pattern that's on repeat. It happens for all of us. And in last week's episode, we really dug into not only the importance of creating a vision, but also some key practical steps about how to do that. But I don't want to miss out on a really important key piece to that, and also how we're showing up for our kids. So, that concept that I want to talk about today is your frequency. Through the work of Dr. David Hawkins, who really studied the frequency of emotion, there was some really powerful outcomes that came from that to really show the impact of being in a low frequency versus being in a high frequency. We've all been there, right? You walk into a house or a situation where the people in the room themselves are at a low frequency, and you can feel it. You can feel it in your body. Sometimes for us, it's like a knot in our throat, or a tightness in our chest, or maybe this like ball in our belly that we don't necessarily even know what it's about, but we can feel it in our body. I know, like walking into a funeral or into a situation where somebody's getting really bad news, you can just feel that low frequency energy in your body. And on the flip side, we can also, without having any context about what's going on, without even seeing faces, we've also all walked into a situation where we can feel that high frequency vibration in our body, where maybe somebody just shared exciting news, or somebody's holding an excitement that they just can't wait to share, and we can feel it before we even hear it. Because all matter vibrates. A rock vibrates, the air vibrates, the trees vibrate, and so do you. We all vibrate at a different frequency. Humans are anywhere from 6.8 to 7.2 hertz. When we're vibrating at a lower frequency, it can actually be an indicative of disease or challenges with our wellness. And we know, if you've ever experienced any type of mental health challenges, that low frequency vibe you can feel it in your body. Through the work of Dr. David Hawkins, he mapped out different emotions, and he mapped them out on a scale of 0 to 1,000. The most interesting thing that I found as I was learning about this research was that most human emotions fall. So 80% of human emotions fall into that higher frequency realm. Yet, as humans, we spend only about 15% of our time in those higher frequency emotions, and spend most of our time in those lower frequency emotions. And so, why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm bringing this up because, like I said, last episode, we were talking about this idea of creating a vision. But if more than 80% of the time we're stuck in this loop of being in a low frequency energy, it has a direct influence on the way that we're able to vision what we want for our future. And it also has a direct influence on the way that you show up as a parent today. When we're in a low frequency, which is associated with frustration, overwhelm, chaos, disappointment, anxiety, depression, right? When we're stuck in one or many of those low frequency emotions on a regular basis, we are then also, just as I talked about at the beginning of this episode, when we're putting out into our relationships that low vibe frequency, the people in our life, the people we interact with, feel it, even when our words are saying something else. I remember when things were especially challenging with my son, and I would have to leave work to pick him up to take him to a treatment, or I'd get a call from the principal saying that he needed to be sent home from school, and I would spend my whole half-hour drive home working just on my face, right? Thinking like, make sure you're smiling, make sure that he doesn't pick up that you're mad, right? I wasn't working on actually creating a new thought or feeling. I was just trying to change the action, the thing my face was doing, because I didn't want to make an already tricky situation worse. But I didn't know then what I know now about our thoughts create our feelings create our actions create our results. I didn't know that. And so in my logic, I thought, well, I'm just going to change my action. I can control what my face is doing, right? We all can, sort of. Some people are not as good at it as others. But I knew I could control that. And he'd hop into the car as I picked him up at school, and the first words out of his mouth would be, "Why are you mad, Mom?" And I inside would be furious. Like, I'm trying so hard to fix my face so that he doesn't see how frustrated I am, how disappointed I am, how resentful I am that this behavior, this situation is impacting life again. I tried so hard to just change my action. I didn't know that I needed to actually change my frequency, change my emotion, which required me to have a new thought. I now know, as I've been learning human design, that we actually have a tool, a guide to help us know actually where to start with that. That human design helps us take this big concept of like create new thoughts, create new feelings, which sounds lovely on paper, right? But how in the heck do you do it in your life, in your everyday moments, when the shit keeps hitting the fan? Excuse my language, but that's it. When you're stuck in the muck and it's so hard and you're trying so hard to break a cycle in your home, and you're not picking the right thing to actually work on, right? We tend to, right? So follow me on this one. So we have a circumstance, right? Our child is, having a meltdown because the broccoli touched their spaghetti on their plate. They're having a full-blown meltdown. Or our child just screamed profanities at us after, we asked them to pick up their room, right? That's the circumstance. Something happened. And then we have on repeat a thought about what happened. Like, if it's about the food, right? Like, oh my gosh, every time their food touches their plate, they lose their, what. And I feel like their needs are controlling the way that I show up as a parent, right? We can flip things back on us so easily. Or when they freak out, have are swearing profanities at you because you asked them to clean up your room or their room, we then have this thought on loop about like, they're defiant, they won't listen to me, they're disrespectful, they learned this from their other parent, I never should have let them have a tablet, right? Like, we go through this thought loop in our head, which inevitably fuels the emotion that follows. And when the thought loop is negative, the emotion will be negative. It will be in that 0 to 200 range through the work of Dr. David Hawkins. But when we don't either know what that thought is that's on repeat, right? Oftentimes it's so subconscious that we don't even realize we're thinking it. That's one kind of challenge that we face. And two, it can be really hard for us to know, what the heck is that new thought that I could put on repeat? I can't even figure it out, right? They're being disrespectful. They're screaming profanities at me. I can't think of a different thought. That's what I often hear from my clients is like, okay, yeah, I get in theory what you're trying to teach me, Angie, about create a new thought, but my brain can't wrap around a new thought. And so I want to highlight for you today a way to use human design, your human design, as a powerful tool to break that thought loop because it is embedded in the way that human design is presented. Frequencies are embedded in human design. So let me share an example with you. So my life's work, my most important gate through the lens of human design, it's also called my conscious sun, is gate 44. Through traditional human design, it is called the gate of alertness. And it's a tribal gate, meaning like that tribal energy is a bit of a tit for tat, right? Like if I do this for you, you need to do that for me. It has that kind of energy underneath it. Through the lens of quantum human design, it's called the gate of truth. And so this energy that is my most present energy, it is what I put into my relationships every single day. When I'm stuck in a lower frequency of that gate 44, I'm stuck in this fear, this paralysis that the past is just going to keep repeating itself, and I can feel doom. I can feel like nothing I'm going to do is going to break this pattern. That is the low frequency, the 0 to 200 level frequency of this energy of gate 44, of my most important energy or lesson in my human design chart. And when I look back to my parenting journey, that was exactly it. That doom that I felt ended up creating in me a fight or flight response in my body. I didn't know this then, right? But when I look back, I felt so much fear in my home, in my relationship, in my dynamics with my son. I feared for my life. I put multiple locks on the inside of my bedroom door. It's embarrassing to say that, but I trust that you're here listening because perhaps some of this resonates with you too. But I was afraid. I couldn't sleep at night. My whole body was in this constant state of low grade and then sometimes high grade fight or flight mode, to the point that I'd be at work and I'd be in a meeting and I'd feel my phone buzz and I would just flip it up a little bit to glance at it. And as soon as I saw that it was my son's school, immediately my heart sank down to my stomach. And then the anxiety was so high, I could feel it in my shoulders. My whole body was experiencing the lower frequency energy of gate 44. And knowing now, I did not know this then, but knowing now that the opposite of that, the higher frequency of that exact same energy, the gate of truth, is the ability to see patterns that have created pain. It's the gift that I have when I'm in the highest frequency or a higher frequency of gate 44 of my life's work is that I can see a pattern on loop. I can see a pattern and see the lessons that it is here to bring. I couldn't see that for myself when I was stuck in the lower frequency, when I was below 200. But now that I have expanded my perspective, I've expanded the way that I reflect on things, I get to see this. I've allowed myself to see that this gate 44 isn't all doom and gloom. It isn't a death sentence of being stuck in these loops and afraid of the past repeating itself. I now get to see that gate 44 gives me this beautiful gift in its higher frequency to not only see patterns in my own life, in my own experiences. I find myself often like, I remember one of my first coaches talking about it like being in the matrix, where you could slow down time. And I love the energy of this gate of truth because it allows me to slow down time in my own relationships, in my own interactions, in my own perceptions of what is happening. I have the power to slow down time and just notice. Just notice the patterns that are happening that are causing me pain, that are causing my relationships pain, so that I get to choose to do something different about it. And it also then becomes this beautiful gift that I get to share with my clients, that I get to help them see, right? I have this awareness of patterns that they're stuck in, and I get to help them see the pattern and that they have the power to break it. And your human design has perhaps a different energy that maybe you are stuck in the shadow and you don't know the way out. Human design shows us what that other energy is, shows us how to start noticing it and paying attention to it and calling it into our life in a way that we are more empowered and less of a victim to what's happening in our life. So, if you don't know anything about human design, or perhaps you've pulled your chart or you've had a reading with somebody and it just really doesn't make sense to you, or you have dug in and you know quite a bit about human design, but you have not yet looked at it this way through the lens of frequency, I invite you to grab not just your chart from my website, right? There's information on your chart, but more powerful than that are the reports that I have available to you on my website. I have a free kids report, a free adult report, and then I also have this just incredible paid report. It is worth every penny, the amount of content in there. I think I just pulled one for a friend, and I want to say that her report was like 120 pages long with really powerful contemplation questions and highlighting the energies that she could be tapping into. It's just such a beautiful way to see our possibility so that we can change the path for ourselves, for our relationships, so that we can start parenting from a higher frequency than we currently are today. I want that for you. I want that for your kids. I want that for your family. And I want that for our community, that we are the stewards of this next generation, whether or not you want to be. We are here with this increased knowledge about how to support our kids, with this increased way, enhanced way, expanded way to see what our kids need, perhaps in a way that our parents didn't know how to see for us. This is the gift that you have now. So I'd love to hear what your conscious sun or your life's work key is, or gate, lots of different ways to talk about them. I would love to hear what yours is and to hear how you have perhaps been living in a lower frequency and how you're thinking about imagining living in a higher frequency. And then my second challenge for you is to go back to your vision and look at it now through this lens. Look at your vision through the lens of the higher frequency of your life's work gate and see what changes for you, see what expands for you, see what more is possible in your life. So this was so much fun. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. And when you're ready to start tackling your most important relationships, this is the work that I love to do. So book a connection clarity call, grab your chart and reports on my website, and we'll talk soon.